Good morning, everyone. Welcome to an all-new edition of Artsbeat TV and Radio, here from Westfield Community Programming, 89.5 FM WSKB, and our media partners at Agawam Media and Southwick Community Television. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach, and our first half hour today, we're getting to chat with Rob Ruggiero, the artistic director of TheaterWorks in Hartford. Their season opens next week with an exciting new play, and even if you can't get to the theater before the end of the month, when you drive by it, you're going to see a beautiful floor-to-ceiling mural. Rob, that is just so incredible.
Isn't it amazing?
I mean, I knew about that it was going up, but I drove through Hartford the other day, and it is just eye-catching.
We love it. And, you know, a little side note, the beautiful young man, or boy, really, who's in the photo is the son of Tanisha Dugan, who used to work for us. So
I didn't realize that.
There's a connection. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Happened.
Oh, but that makes it even more cool. Your season opens with a brand new play called Fever Dreams, or Animals on the Verge of Extinction, by Jeffrey Lieber, who is best known for writing the TV series Lost. It's a brand new play. Rob, how did you find it?
I actually came across it through my new managing director, Jeff Griffin. He came from a Contemporary American Theater Festival, and they had done a workshop production of it there. It's actually the first production. We've been working on it here a little bit more. And he sent me the script, and he's like, I think you might like this. It feels very TheaterWorks. And I loved it, and everyone on staff really responded to it. It has like a lot of the elements of a great play and a lot of the elements of a TheaterWorks play. And so we couldn't be more excited. And it's a show that's never been to New York. This is really the second production ever of the show. So,
well, I saw the synopsis of it at first when the season sort of got announced, and I thought, well, it's an updated version of that play and movie Same Time Next Year, where a couple gets together every year. And they're married to other people or dating other people, but at once a year they get together at a hotel, and it's how their lives change. But this one is a couple that gets together every year in a remote cabin in the middle of nowhere, but they get together this particular year and things change, and it takes kind of a dark thriller kind of motif.
Yeah, you know, we've been talking about that word. It's really more like it has a lot of suspense. It has a lot of psychological elements, and in that way, I guess it has that. You know, it's more of that suspense genre that opens up into this beautiful, rich play than like a thriller, like, you know, like Lizzie might have been, you know. And what's different about it is it's very contemporary, but it's these three friends. The two guys were best friends at college, and it's this three-way relationship that has been like perfectly balanced. There's like two worlds. Her world with her husband and her child, and her world with essentially is her lover, and they escape to this remote cabin in Lake Oregon, the Pacific Northwest, and something happens, and the worlds get ruptured. Like the cabin world, it's a beautiful set, gets ruptured because of and then that really is the impetus for the play. And I guess Jeffrey loves to say the question of the play is, how much truth can you handle without going crazy?
Is Jeffrey involved in the production in any way? Is it being rewritten or reconsidered? Or is it pretty much you got the script of what had been done before and you're just moving with it?
Well, I have to give him credit. It's in really, really good it was in really awesome shape. But yes, he's been here. He was here the whole first week of rehearsal while we did table work, and I would say we've made more tweaks, and there was a minimum amount of rewriting in a couple of sections. Now we're staging, and then he'll be back next week, and he'll be with us for part of tech and all the previews. So the playwright is in the house,
That
and
is,
and so he's very invested and very grateful we're doing the show.
as a director, you don't get that opportunity that often because a lot of times, like when you're at the Muni directing or at Goodspeed, you're taking a show that was done before and remounting it, as opposed to working on a new production where there's a flexibility with a playwright.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because sometimes the actors are like, "Can I say it this way instead?" And Jeffrey is so generous, and the actors are this amazing group of people who are very, very invested in this story. We can talk about the cast in a moment, and but yes, and like when I did Rags at Goodspeed, that was a similar experience. It's almost like working on a new play, except it's easier because the play is existing. We know that it works, and so the playwright is here for this production with this group of artists, and we hope to have some people come in and check it out from New York. It's never been to New York, so.
Who I know that you've got a trio of actors in this production that are all new to TheaterWorks. Who are they?
Yeah, well, one of the actors is Tim DeKay, and he was the lead on White Collar, and he was in 1923. He had a smaller part in Oppenheimer, and he's playing Miller. And the odd thing is we went to grad school together. So we were in acting class together in, like, I won't say when, but it was decades ago. And I couldn't be more thrilled to have him be in this show with us now. So that's fun. The other man is played by Doug Savant, who everyone around town I was already recognizing from Desperate Housewives. He also was in Melrose Place, and he played the very first gay character, really important gay character in TV. He's straight and has a wife and a family, but he is known for that. But he's really known now that if we walk around town for Desperate Housewives, he's recognized for there. He's very thrilled. And he and Tim are best friends in real life. So isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So that works out.
What coincidence that is. That's amazing.
Right. And Lana Young, who is a wonderful actor, is playing the woman. God bless her. She's in a room with all this male energy. So we try to make sure she's taken care of, and there is another woman in the room. So, but she's beautiful, wonderful, and smart and sexy. She was seen on Hartford Stage's stage in Winter's Tale, and she did a couple of shows at Hartford Stage, and she's done a lot of Doctors and Lawyers, and LA Law, and those TV shows. She's so excited. This character that she plays, Adele, is both smart and sexy. And the cast is all middle-aged. They're all we're all in the same generation. So to have a play that centers, that's sexy and centers these people who are in their mid-50s to 60 is great.
Yeah, because you don't see a lot of plays that feature people in our age range.
Yeah, right. And in this kind of way, which I think makes the play even more exciting. Jeffrey likes to say, it's so funny, it's like part betrayal, little Sam Shepard, and Virginia Woolf thrown in. He shares this story a lot. Like he's a TV writer who wants to be a theater writer. It usually goes the other way around, right? And he saw this play in Chicago. He's originally from that area at Steppenwolf, and was just so moved by the immediacy and the rawness of I think it was Aunt Dan and Lemon, this play that he saw. And then when his TV career was been going on, he just had this impulse to write a play like one of those plays he loved, where the actors were brave and immediate, and the writing was very potently real.
Yeah, I interviewed a playwright who was at Hartford Stage when Darko was the artistic director, a guy named Samuel Baum, who wrote a play called The Engagement Party, which had its premiere in Hartford. And
I loved it.
he was a TV and film writer, and that was his first foray into theater. And he said that although he had studied theater to some degree, it was really important for him to write a play, and he did a great job with that.
Oh yeah, I loved it. I loved that play. Actually, I saw it, and what's so wonderful is TV writers are more open to the voice of the room. Sometimes but again, very strong in his vision and clarity for the play. And I do a lot of plays. I direct a lot of plays. I read a lot of plays. And getting this play up, it's so refreshing to know it's a great piece of writing. It really just takes care of itself in lots of ways. And I love how it goes on, and you're connected with the relationships, and there are things you don't see coming is always delicious in the theater.
That's great. We're going to take a break in a minute to acknowledge your underwriters, but I hope that you can go through and kind of briefly tell everybody what the upcoming season is when we get back from that. If you're interested in seeing Fever Dreams, it is on stage at TheaterWorks in Hartford through November 3rd, and you can get tickets at twhartford.org. And I got to say, the season upcoming is all new things, except for one, Christmas on the Rocks. And I hope you'll describe a little bit about that when we get back. And we're chatting with Rob Ruggiero from TheaterWorks. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach, and we'll return after these messages, so don't go away.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
Underwriting for Community Radio is provided by the YMCA of Greater Westfield. Every day, the YMCA strengthens the community through programs and services focused on youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. For all the Y's many programs and services, visit us on the web at www.westfieldymca.org. The YMCA, 67 Court Street in downtown Westfield. We're more than a gym. We're a cause.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Artsbeat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. If you missed a part of today's program, or you want to watch it again or share it with friends, it's archived on YouTube under WSKB Community Radio. My guest this first half hour is Rob Ruggiero from TheaterWorks in Hartford. He's a frequent guest here, and if you go into the archives, you can see that we are ageless when you go back and see interviews we've done 8 or 9 years ago. Rob, I always look forward to TheaterWorks and the season because I'm always seeing plays that are new and different. I was blown away last season by Felicia Curry in Sandra, and it was the first play that I had gone back to review after I had been out sick for several months. And I was overwhelmed, first of all, by the play and the performance, but how the projections that were used as part of the scene design for that turned a small theater like TheaterWorks into Acapulco and a beach in Mexico and all these other things. It was amazing.
Yeah. It was special. Thank you. And before we go any further, you look amazing. And I'm so grateful to be here on the show and doing another episode with you. So You look fantastic. I hope you're feeling well.
I'm feeling great, and I will be down to see Fever Dreams
Yes.
in I think a couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to it.
Good. Great. Yeah, Sandra was part of the last season because, we're trying to bring audiences back, and I'm exploring, like, what is the theater of now, and what is the theater of the future? And you can't ignore the technological aspect. I believe, as I'm sure you know and you do, that the potency of theater is in the live storytelling and the communal experience of, like, being in the audience with other people, seeing something that only happens that once. Every show is slightly different, like a snowflake. But last year I thought, listen, people have been on there, looking at Netflix and all their apps and all their TVs and movies. Like, how does technology, speak to live storytelling? So we had a season of exploration and innovation, ending with Sandra, in which we immersed the live storyteller in a completely virtual world. And people loved it, and it did really well. And what I was mostly thrilled about is on every review, it started with how much they loved Felicia and they loved her work and the story. They didn't start with the technology, and that made me very happy.
Well, I am a major Felicia fan because we both worked together at the Capitol Steps, and I know I know Felicia's coming back this year to do a concert for you guys.
She is. She's coming back. I was just going to say she's coming back to do in the late spring, I think, or spring, to do a living room concert. So.
She's a phenomenal singer. I just so respect her work.
I haven't heard her sing.
She played Nina. She played Nina Simone a couple of years ago at Berkshire Theater Group, and Felicia is. With the Capitol Steps, where she was doing satire, she had a great voice, but she can hold her own in a concert.
Yeah, she's amazing and a really wonderful person. This season, we have a season kind of woven together that kind of happened by the choices instead of, like, creating a theme and then picking plays. And they're all connected by dreamers and dreams, but not in a lyrical way. I mean, the season starts with Fever Dreams, and then we're going to a play called King James, that by Rajiv Joseph, that we're doing in partnership with Roundhouse. And I love this play. It's about, it's a celebration of friendship and fandom. And it's because it takes place in Cleveland in the era, in a decade of LeBron James, his start there, his leaving there, and his coming back. But it's not about sports, although sports people will love it because it's housed in, it's told in 4 quarters. But it's really a rare play about male bonding and male friendship that is funny and really touching. Again, because I auditioned, I started in New York, and I in the auditions I cried as well. It's a beautiful play. Can't wait to do it. And these are two men with aspirations, two men with a dream, and how they pursue those and what happens of their friendship. So that's in February, and then we're doing Primary Trust, which won the Pulitzer Prize. Of drama, a wonderful, simple play like a fable that really packs a powerful punch. Also has humor, which I really love, but it's so simple. I almost didn't read it. And then the funny story is I read it, I fell in love with it, and asked for it, and she won the Pulitzer Prize. So we got it. And here's hot off the press, and they hope they won't kill me, but I think we're very close to partnering with Barrington Stage Company, who's about to do the show, and a version of that production. I don't know if the whole cast will come to TheaterWorks in the spring. Isn't that cool?
That's cool. In fact, I'm seeing Primary Trust this weekend at Barrington Stage as the press opening. So,
oh, great!
By the time I see you in person at TheaterWorks for the opening of Fever Dreams, my review will be out.
All right.
I'll be reviewing that for Mass Live and Westfield News, and know a little bit about the play, but when the New York Times did its pick hits for the upcoming fall season at theaters all over the country, they picked Primary Trust, which is at Barrington and a couple of other theaters, and said it's a play that,
of other theaters.
yeah, a play that really needs to be seen. So I think that people that can't get up to the Berkshires to see it will have a great opportunity to see it in Hartford.
Yeah, Ebony Booth wrote it, and she's lovely. And, I mean, she wrote this play, I think, from her heart, and now it's probably one of the most produced plays this season. And we're lucky that our audiences get to see it. So, and then we're closing the season, and that has to do with the central character is lost, and he is able to dream again. It's about new beginning. It's so uplifting and so sweet. And it really is this simple story. And it's like, wow. And we're closing our season with a play called Your Name Means Dream. And it's written and directed by Jose Rivera. And it is really a play about how, interesting, what I said earlier, technology speaks to humanity. And it's about this elderly woman in a cluttered apartment in New York whose son gets her a home health aide, a live-in home health aide, who is an AI robot. So it takes place in the not so distant future, and how they become friends, and that journey between a human being and a created being. Funny, and also it's like we said this in On the Office. I can't remember a season, and I hope I don't insult anybody, but we're all so excited about every play, and it starts with 4 great pieces of writing, and really powerful and fun and moving storytelling. So there's our season, our 39th, planning the 40th, and Christmas on the Rocks, I hope, is the cherry on the sundae, the 12th year mark.
Are there going to be any new pieces in it this year?
We're talking about 1 or 2, but next year is our 40th season, so we'll do something big then. But every year, we're in conversations right now. We explored one thing. Midge will be gone. Midge was a visit for 1 year because of the Barbie movie. So I can share that the cast is coming back from last year. So Jen Cody is back, and Richard Klein's back behind the bar, and Harry Boovey, who originated The Man, is back. So we're looking at a new piece for him and a possible new piece for her.
That's great. And while we're talking about this, twhartford.org, go to their website, check out the shows. You can get tickets for everything right now. And even if you're not getting tickets and you're in Hartford, drive by TheaterWorks on Pearl Street, because there is this incredible mural that just changed the entire shape of downtown Hartford.
It's so beautiful. I'm glad you love it. Really quickly, RC is the name of the artist, and we had a conversation and a real collaboration, and the expectation was, we're using a theater, and that we want something theater themed, but we had a great conversation, and it's something that I didn't want. I wanted something that spoke to humanity, to creativity, to inspiration, to possibility. And I think I looked at his work. I think he nailed it. And we were talking about something slightly different. And then he did this. And I was like, do it. It's beautiful.
Is it a permanent mural, or is it
10 years? I mean, it's on us, but we have to agree to 10 years. I can't imagine it would be more evergreen than that. But yeah, it's there and it's protected. Hopefully nobody will damage it, but all the murals around have a protective coat on it. And and I think it's gotten a lot of attention. From the park, if you're in Bushnell Park and looking across the parking lot, it's beautiful. It relates to the greenery of the trees, and it's gorgeous.
It is. I know every summer you go to the Muni. What did you direct in St. Louis this year?
This year at the Muni, I did Fiddler on the Roof for the 3rd time, with my friend Adam Heller, and it was an amazing experience because Adam and I did it 10 years ago at Goodspeed at the 50th anniversary mark, and then we did it together at the Muni in the 60th anniversary of Fiddler. It was a beautiful production. I never get tired of telling the story. It was epic on that huge stage. I don't know if you saw any of the clips I posted, but
I did.
Beautiful.
And another friend of mine directs at the Muni every year, so I kind of follow what they do.
Yeah, I love going there. Mike's amazing, and the whole Muni team is outstanding. And to be able to tell the story to 11,000 people is mind-blowing. And it all happens in like 11 days, you know.
Yeah, it's a real challenge. When earlier you mentioned Primary Trust and that you might be doing a collaborative with the Barrington Stage production. Barrington Stage just did Next to Normal, and I think Next to Normal was one of my favorite TheaterWorks productions of all time. And
thank you.
They did a great job with it. But again, they used a lot of projections and video and film, including
it looked beautiful.
Yeah, it was a stunning thing to watch. And I'm so glad that a lot of this new technology is bringing its way into theaters large and small, because it enhances what's going on the stage, particularly to an audience that in many cases has been glued to television and movies during the pandemic, and it's just coming back to live theater. And boy, it really can keep you in suspense.
Yeah, it really was. The photos looked beautiful. I really wanted to see it. I went up to see Mark St. Germain's play, and I saw Alan, and I just, because of the summer schedule and starting, I couldn't get there, and I was disappointed. But I loved doing Next to Normal. Like I said, it looked gorgeous. In our space, we centered on the intimacy of the storytelling because of the 188 seats, right?
Exactly.
And they both seem to have value. It's interesting that I have made the choice this year to, lean back into the storytelling with you'll see, well, there's more some immersiveness. There's not a lot of technology as much as we did last season, but we're looking at a project for our 40th season that will take what we did with like Walden and move that, we're trying to plan ahead on something big and innovative. So it's fun. And I can tell you, I can't say what, but I'm excited. I'm going back to Goodspeed next season. I loved working on Drood this year, but I'll be back down at Goodspeed. So that's a fun thing to look forward to.
That is. We're out of time, Rob, but thanks for joining us this morning. We've been chatting with Rob Ruggiero, the artistic director at TheaterWorks. You can get information on Fever Dreams and the other plays at twhartford.org. We'll be back after a couple of announcements. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. Don't go away.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardie siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com, they are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio. 89.5 WSFD.
I did
it! Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. And this half hour, we're going back to Hartford to chat with Melia Bensussen, the artistic director of Hartford Stage. And they're opening with a classic called Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde. It's Jeffrey Hatcher's adaptation of the Robert Louis Stevenson play. It's a psychological play on many levels. It could be considered a horror story or thriller on some levels, but it really is quite the exciting play. And Melia, it is great to see you.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
So you're opening in a couple of weeks here. How are rehearsals going?
It's terrifying to hear that, right? A couple of weeks. It's true. It's amazing how quickly we work, how much we do in a few weeks. Rehearsals are going great. It's and I just want to say it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And the wonderful thing about the "and" there is that it's really about all the sides that we each contain. And it's a very witty, psychologically surprising, physically transformative production. The theater is going to look really different to people, I think, as they come in. And the surprises that the production will deliver, I think will be talked about for a while, or at least I hope so. It's really great fun to be working on this.
Yeah, what made you choose the play? Was there had you done it before, or was it part of a theme of the season? It's a great choice. What made you choose it for the opening?
Well, Mark, I was looking for something to begin our 61st season that was surprising, that people would want to come out to see, and that captured kind of the great things Hartford Stage does, which is to say revisiting classics, but also giving voice to contemporary writers. This is a combination of the two. It's a contemporary voice, playwright Jeffrey Hatcher, with whom I've collaborated for over 20 years, has adapted this, 19th century great story of Robert Louis Stevenson's. And I just think to start the year, the theatrical season, the theater season at Hartford Stage, to start it by being surprised together, by gasping together, by giggling together, by being anxious together in a theater is truly unique and a great gift. So that's what I was thinking.
A lot of people, when you think about the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are two completely different personalities in one person. It's a common thing. We hear about it, everything from criminals like Ted Bundy, who looked like a preppy on one hand, it was a serial killer on the other, to people that are going through changes in personality. When I worked in a resident theater company many years ago, we had an artistic director who had two sides to him. And the receptionist would either have the letter J on her desk or H on her desk, so that everybody coming to work would know whether we were getting Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde when we came to work that day. But I've always found it to be a fascinating. You know who the person is, but I'm not sharing it on the airwaves.
But I wonder who it is. I will look into it. I'm not sure. But yes, when I am so with you, we all know of these binaries. I mean, part of what Stevenson was exploring, right, was this notion that there was absolute evil or absolute good. And the character of Dr. Jekyll in the original is doing this to separate out the darkness in himself, because he's tired of trying to curb his instincts, right? He wants to be free of that tension. And Jeff Hatcher has taken this conceit even further, and I think really is celebrating what Stevenson has created, but making even more the point that there is no such thing as pure evil and no such thing as pure good. And what a mistake we make when we try to isolate ourselves in this way, as opposed to understanding that we are, far more complex creatures, and that we have both qualities always, right? And that we have to figure out how to moderate ourselves, how to be the best we can. And, horror and psychological thrillers, or whatever we call this category, is so fun, Mark, because it goes to the extreme, right? I mean, we can joke about, are you a Jekyll or a Hyde? But we're all sort of in the middle of not being quite that evil or quite that good. But it's just so much fun to see what happens when all of this is pushed to the extreme.
And one of the things I wanted to say to people, go to Facebook and to Hartford Stage's Facebook page, because you've posted photographs of the set under construction, and it's just monumental.
Oh, it's really cool. Sarah Brown is an extraordinary set designer, and she has made us basically an actor's playground. And the photos are great, folks. Go look and then come see it in 3D here in our theater. And there's more surprises to it than you can even see in the renderings, how we're going to use it, how actors are going to appear and disappear in surprising ways. It's really a hoot. Everyone is in motion all the time, right? I'm joking with the actors that they don't need to go to the gym while we're doing this play, because I'm keeping everybody running around like crazy.
And then you're living on a lot of caffeine, I would assume.
I have my coffee right here.
Yes, I do too. Mine is sitting right here as we're chatting.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with caffeine. They try to find things wrong with how much coffee we drink, and they can't. They can't.
They cannot.
Yes.
Melia, what are some of the other productions that are coming to Hartford Stage this year?
Well, so after Jekyll and Hyde, which starts performances October 10th, so do come to that. And then is the return, once again, our annual favorite, A Christmas Carol, much beloved by this community. Then we have an amazing American play, August Wilson's Two Trains Running. August Wilson, one of the great American playwrights. This is his play as part of his American Century Cycle. And it's set in 1969 in a diner. So come see Jekyll and Hyde and see all these transformations in the set, and then come be a part of the diner in 1969 in August Wilson's play about, endurance and joy and the extraordinary capacity for humans to continue to be resilient and to find hope. It'll be a great production to see in this year of transformation for this country, however the election goes. After Two Trains, we're doing a hysterical comedy called Laughs in Spanish. And this is a comedy completely in English, but it's really a mother-daughter confrontation, coming to terms comedy set at Art Basel in Miami. With a fabulous Colombian movie star mother, a cross between Sofia Vergara and Lucio Ball, and her daughter, who is running an art gallery at Art Basel. And there's an art heist in the middle of it all. So you've got an art heist, mother-daughter conflict, movie stars, Spanish, English, and, just on and on. It's going to be a riot. After that is Romeo and Juliet, a huge romantic swashbuckling story. It'll be beautifully designed, rich costumes and sets, and amazing sword fighting. Can't wait I'll be directing Romeo and Juliet, and just that vision of enduring love, innocence, and hope that lives in that play. And then we end with another very funny play, Hurricane Diane. And Mark, imagine this. Dionysus arrives and decides to become a landscape architect named Diana in contemporary, Real Housewives of New Jersey setting. And so the Real Housewives of New Jersey and a Greek god explore landscape gardening and, contemporary life and how to make the world a better place, all while living a bacchanalia. It's going to be a riot.
That's fabulous. While we're talking about Hartford Stage's season, go to their website at hartfordstage.org or go to their Facebook page so you can learn about what's going on, and you can either subscribe to the season or buy individual tickets. And Hartford Stage is a gorgeous facility in downtown Hartford with parking next door. So it's a very convenient and easy way to go to the theater. And for those of us in Springfield or Westfield, you're probably talking about 30 to 35 minutes down the road to get there, and surrounded by restaurants. And I always enjoy going because it's a fabulous night of theater, and there's lots to do before and after. So
subscribing. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark.
Yeah, I was going to say, Romeo and Juliet has been done by Hartford Stage several times in the past, and I saw Romeo and Juliet for the first time at Hartford Stage with Callista Flockhart in it before she became famous.
Yes, that's right. And we are doing it again. I feel like it's one of those plays that each generation deserves to encounter. And I love the idea that the first time you saw it was here, and hopefully lots of other folks will see it for the first time here. And also to say that this will be the last time it was here. Darko's production was much more 20th century, much more contemporary setting. I think it was 1950s, but still a sort of modern feel. And this is going to really go back to a more romantic, more sort of the paradigm of romantic love. No cynicism, no modernity there, really just a feeling of what does it mean to be a young person falling madly in love for the first time, really believing that love will transform. And in fact, the play does show that it does. And the character of Juliet is just such an extraordinary creation, and one that is worth, I think, revisiting through different iterations and performances.
I think that most people who discover Shakespeare for the first time, Romeo and Juliet is probably the first play they encounter. For you, what was the first Shakespeare that you encountered?
Oh, it's such a good question, and I've actually never thought about it. I'll tell you this, the first one I directed was The Merchant of Venice. And I do feel like having gotten the chance to be inside the play to that degree was a transforming experience. Like, and I would say if you see a Shakespeare play more than once, or if you see several Shakespeares, you start to feel like you're inside this other way of viewing the world, another way of thinking. I think that's what, for me, is one of the great gifts of either seeing a Shakespeare play more than once or working on a Shakespeare play, is that as opposed to the foreignness of the language, right, which can be challenging, but the more you succumb to it, you start to enter this other state, right? He's writing to our heartbeat, and we follow the music of the plays. It's really a gift to get to escape this world and be in his for a bit.
And for those of you that think, well, Shakespeare may be beyond my comprehension, Shakespeare's plays, Romeo and Juliet, Taming of the Shrew, Macbeth, Hamlet, a lot of them have been adapted into film versions or musical versions or operas or ballets. So there's something very theatrically universal about these plays, and you can see them 5 times or 10 times, and each production will be just a little bit different. I'm looking forward to Romeo and Juliet. I love the ballet version that I've seen. I love West Side Story, but I like the original a lot. And this will probably be the 3rd or 4th time I've seen it, but I had never seen it before going to Hartford Stage when Callista Flockhart did it. And I majored in theater and was required to read. At Yale, they made us read all the Shakespeare plays, but for some reason it had escaped me until maybe 20 years ago.
And I love that you were exposed to it later and that through the production here. I'll say, really to echo you, Mark, I think the language for this will feel very accessible. I will be doing some cutting on the play. I don't believe that the play shouldn't be cut. I'm not, they were written for the audiences at that time, and we're going to create a production for our audience in this moment. So if you're frightened of Shakespeare as you hear this, or feel that it's not for you, I encourage you to come see this play. As Mark says, it's one of the most accessible, and the production is going to be so clear. You will really relish these characters and the situation, and it'll remind you of the best parts of your own romantic lives, right?
Or teenage angst.
Or passion, right? They're really not angsty. They're right. They're desirous. They have appetite. Angst is so modern in a way, right? They want things, Mark. They want things so much, and there's a certain amount of humor and joy in the knowing how much they want something, how impatient they are in their youth.
Yeah, indeed. And I think the reason a lot of people don't like Shakespeare or don't think they like Shakespeare is because they had English teachers in high school that didn't know how to teach it. I remember being forced to, not forced, but the first Shakespeare play that I read in high school was Macbeth. And I thought Macbeth was really kind of exciting, but the teacher just, made us read it, or he would read long passages from it, and he turned it into something really boring. But then when I went to Arena Stage to see it, I went, wow, this is cool.
I love that. And I also think, Shakespeare was never really meant to be read, right? And that's one of the traps. You need to come see it. He's writing for action. There's comedy, there's fighting. He was a populist playwright. And you're absolutely right that when we sanctify it in the classroom, we make it really dull as opposed to as lively and as funny and as alive as it can be.
We're going to take a quick break to acknowledge our underwriters. Before we do, if you want to see Romeo and Juliet or Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde or any of the other programs at Hartford Stage this year, go to their website, hartfordstage.org. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach, and we'll return after these messages, so don't go away.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer, and we're spending this half hour with Melia Bensussen, who's the artistic director at Hartford Stage. She's taking a break from a rehearsal of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which opens their 61st season. Last season, 60 years was a milestone, Melia, for a lot of regional theaters celebrated their 60ths over the last couple of years. I know that you faced a lot of challenges during the pandemic and post-pandemic getting Hartford Stage back up on its feet. Are there still challenges ahead, or are you pretty pleased of the return that you guys have had?
Oh, thank you for the question. I think there have always been and will always be challenges for live theater, but thanks to this community, thanks to all of you listening, thanks to the extraordinary board and the supporters of Hartford Stage, we are here and we plan to continue presenting world-class theater. The best thing you can do to ensure the survival of this theater in this region is come see shows, right? Because we're here, we're having a wonderful time making work, but we need more audiences, right? There's been such a change in the performing arts, in attendance at all performing arts, at the symphony, at the ballet, certainly at the theater, because we know there's so many temptations to stay home. It's so tempting. And there is so much good writing and good acting on other media. But there is nothing like live theater. And I will say it forever. And Mark, you've been so good about inviting me to the show to sort of almost preach the importance of live theater. When you sit in a theater with other people and you respond together and you experience it together and you go to the lobby and sort of make eye contact and nod at each other and speak, maybe go with friends, go out after the show and talk about what you've seen. It's nothing like sitting home and watching a movie, right?
It is. I don't know about you, but when I got through the pandemic streaming things and all of that, and then couldn't wait to get back to live theater. And then I had a health challenge and I missed a good part of last season and the season prior. But theater keeps me going and sitting in it with other people, seeing a once in a lifetime event, because the show that I might see on a Friday night might be different on a Saturday matinee or a Saturday night. And you get that one chance to really immerse yourself and feel the energy of actors and audience at the same time. Nothing can replicate that in film or in television.
It's so true. And you as an audience member are changing the performance. The conversation, and it is a conversation between the audience and the actor, is what makes the play. The production comes alive thanks to that connection. And that's what's really crucial. You're contributing, you, the audience member, are making something by attending the theater, by laughing, by sighing, by going, oh, when, Dr. Jekyll surprises you with something. It's a unique experience, and yet one of the oldest experiences that humans have shared, right? It's storytelling, group storytelling, one of the oldest, if not the oldest art form. We sit around the fire and hear each other tell stories. It's an extraordinary experience, and we're so lucky to have Hartford Stage in this community and to have this community supporting this theater. I hope people will come and celebrate the beginning of the 61st year with Jekyll and Hyde, with me in the lobby. Great drinks and food too, Mark,
Yeah,
that
you
matters.
can't beat
you
that.
Can bring your drinks in.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question that somebody asked me to ask you. When you were young, growing up in Mexico City, did you have any idea that you would go into theater or be an artistic director of a theater?
I love the question. I fell in love with theater when I was around 4 years old. No kidding. So I had a vision of having a life in the theater, but I had no idea what that meant. As with many young people, the thing I saw was acting. So I was going to be a Broadway star, Mark. I was going to be Ethel Merman. That was my dream.
But my dream was
deep voice.
Yeah, my dream was musical theater too. We could have been co-starring in something. Who knows?
There you go, Mark. We still could. I tell you, if I start singing on stage, people will throw money at me to stop. So that might be the next fundraiser.
Yeah, that might be the big fundraiser of the year for the 61st season. I'll come and join you, and they'll double their contributions to get both of us out.
Love it. Mark and Melia star in a musical on stage. Pay for it not to happen.
You have educational programs. You had one this summer, the Breakdancing Shakespeare. You have a lot of kids coming to shows or experiencing acting opportunities. And then there's young people in A Christmas Carol every year. How do you advise them as a theater to pursue their dreams in theater if they want to do it?
It's so good. We do, just to say, we have extraordinary education programs. Our summer programs this past summer completely sold out. We have programs for as young as, 3 to 5 year olds and middle school, elementary school, middle school, high school, breakdancing Shakespeare. And you're absolutely right. Kids in A Christmas Carol, we send teaching artists to the schools, and we have student matinees for 4 of our productions this year. The thing about studying theater or making theater is 2 things can happen. right? I mean, many things happen, but let's say there's two ways of viewing it. Either you fall in love with the art form and decide to pursue it, and that's, I hear your question. And the advice there is you keep going. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and it's truly a way to dedicate your life to something larger than yourself that is enormously satisfying. I will also say that training in the theater, working in the theater at any age, volunteering as an adult, playing, doing plays in school, the skill set that develops through work in theater, you become more emotionally aware, empathy grows, collaborative skills grow, articulation grows. You need to express your point of view. You identify your feelings. You learn to identify other people's feelings. You learn to project manage because we are very aware of timing and scheduling. The number of skills that you grow as a human being part of a theater enterprise I can't even list them. There's so many. Do you know?
I totally agree. I know that you're in theater full time. I report on it, but when I have to get up and speak in front of somebody, or you have to talk to a funder or a group of people, we have to put our acting skills out front and center. And when I'm in a meeting, I have to budget time, and a lot of it comes from learning to rehearse and perform.
That's exactly right. It's I taught for years at Emerson College in Boston, and I would watch those kids in the acting program over 4 years develop exactly what you're saying: confidence in public speaking, a sense of confidence in who they are, a sense of trust in their being in the world, a sense of your physical well-being in space. Right? You're presenting yourself. And with a lot of empathy. So, yeah, I'm totally with you. These are skills that whatever you end up doing, serve you in life.
Melia, we're out of time, but I want to thank you for being here today. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. Folks, go see Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which opens the 61st season at Hartford Stage, and get information on that show and every other show there at hartfordstage.org. We've been chatting with Melia Bensussen, their artistic director, and this wraps up another edition of Artsbeat. Peter Coles is our engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. We'll see you next week.
As we stumble along on life's funny journey, as we stumble along into the blue, we look here and we look there, seeking answers anywhere, never sure of where to turn or what to do. Still we bumble our way through life's crazy labyrinth, barely knowing left from right, nor right from wrong. And the best that we can do is hope a bluebird will sing his song as we stumble along. It's a dismal little world in which we live. It can bore you till you've nothing left to give. 7 overrated wonders, 7 underwhelming seas, 6 excruciating continents.